A spotlight shines bright on the FS community. Howdy everyone, and welcome to Cowlick Nation, the podcast where we look at real-world farming and how it affects the game we love, Farming Simulator. Now watch your step, this here is Cowlick Nation. Have you ever wondered about the Farming Simulator community? It's good, isn't it? I'd say it's probably the best community that's out there. A lot of people would actually say that, and a lot of people would be right. At least that's the way I take a look at it. For starters, I think there's a couple things that we all can rally around about the game. And that is, there are some implements on here that just don't make any sense. I mean, we know what they do in real life, but what's the point of having them in the game? If you guys go ahead and take a look, we have power harrows in the game. They're pretty darn cool. They're kind of like a rotary powered moving earth mover thingy. Yeah. I mean, what else can you go ahead and call it? It's a cultivator that you have to use power for. Horsepower. Usually you're not going to get a very large width off of these things, so that kind of ends up being an issue. And then you got to go ahead and jack up the horsepower. It's kind of one of those things that makes you wonder, what are we using this for? What's the point? Well, you are able to go ahead and reality, instead of cultivating your fields multiple times, you can really go over it once with a power harrow. That's the benefit in real life. In the game, you go over the field once with a cultivator, whether it's a power harrow, a disker, or just a regular cultivator, either a deep or a shallow, and it all does the exact same thing. So in real life, it actually makes a little bit more sense than in the game. In the game, it's just, why? That also ties in with, when would you actually use this? Real life. Realistically, when are you going to go ahead and use this? In the game, myself, I'm probably never going to be using a power harrow. I don't know if anybody else does. I haven't seen many or really any people do it. But when would you go ahead and use this in reality? Well, you're going to go ahead and use it when you need to prepare the soil to make it kind of like a nice, fine, crisper soil. It's almost like you take the dirt and you put it in a blender or something like that. Mix it up really high and slap it on down. Well, everyone's favorite friends, they go ahead and need that type of soil. Potatoes and sugar beets. You need that nice soil to be able to go ahead and have these things grow underground and make the magic happen. That's kind of the whole point of it. And another application of it is you can go ahead and combo it up with a seeder, and then there you go. In the game, some of the small seeders that are in the game to start off with, the base game that is, they already come with a power harrow right on it. You can kind of see that because when you take a look at the description, it tells you the name of the power harrow plus the name of the seeder. So it gives you that ability to do some direct drilling. And that's an application that you're going to find out in the real world. So that's something to kind of keep your eyes peeled up if you ever want to go ahead and do that. But let's face it, for the most part, who uses a power harrow? It just doesn't make much sense. When you're taking a look at the equipment that you have in the base game when it comes to power harrows, there are 5 of them. And that's it. That's it. That's all they are. You go into the mod hub, the in-game mod hub, and there's 5 of them there as well. 10, I guess, if you want to go ahead and include seeders that are built right in, if you want to look at it that way. But all in all, there's just not much. People aren't making any of them. People aren't using them. Another thing is stone pickers. Yeah, stone pickers, rock pickers, whatever it is that you want to call it. Looking on the mod hub, there's only one actual stone picker. And the rest of them are all buckets. Only 7 more buckets. And you take a look at the base game, there's 3 of them. That's it. That's it. There's almost nothing to them. Now, I know a lot of people play with stones turned on, but just as many people that play with the stones turned on play with them turned off because they're a nuisance. I mean, come on. Let's be honest about this. They're an absolute nuisance when it comes to picking up stones. Now, you take a look at the game here, FS22, and there's only one brand. The Elo, or I think that's at least how it's pronounced. In reality, there are a lot of different options that you can go with manufacturers to types, but ultimately, it comes down to picking the stones up off the ground. That's the biggest function of it. There really are a lot of buckets out there that are used for going ahead and picking up stones. What's really kind of neat is there's actually buckets that you can attach, or something that we can call a bucket, that you can attach to the rear of your tractor, and then when you drive, it actually kind of scoops and gathers the stuff up from behind. It's not too bad, actually. It really isn't bad at all. The power-operated ones, though, that's where you go ahead and you take a look at. There are just tons and tons of brands. None of them really have a super large working width. So no matter what you go ahead and do, in reality, the real world, if you will, there just aren't many options out there for having something really large. You're pretty much confined to what you got. But if you go ahead and you have an opportunity, go ahead, look up a stone picker online, and you'll be able to see it in action, and you'll know that having something that's super, super large probably just isn't practical. The horsepower, the vibrations, everything that goes with it, to have something that spans 15, 30 meters wide, this thing is going to be so heavy, you're going to need like 1,000 horsepower tractor just to move this thing, let alone operate it. So functionality, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But when we're talking about probably one of the most useless items in Farming Simulator, it was something that was added just this last year to the base game, and that would be spaders. What the heck is up with spaders? There are only 3 of them in the base game, and they're all the same brand. And if you go to Mod Hub, there's only 2. That's it. 2. It really makes you wonder, what the heck was Giants thinking? Sure, it's a function of the game. Sure, they are real. You can find yourself a spader. But what is the point? Honestly, guys, what is the point? You have a machine that is not very wide, that plows the land and goes slow. What is the point? Well, in the game here, we're looking at the FarmX, and that's, looking at these, they're probably one of the bigger brands that's out there, and they're actually pretty high quality. So it makes sense that Farming Simulator actually paired up with them to get some of these spaders in here. But what is spading? Spading is really just a tilling method, like a little roto-tiller where you till up the ground, where you take the top layer of soil and you mix it throughout the entire depth of all of this stuff going. It actually makes a lot of sense when you look at some of the data when it comes to plowing versus spading. If you take a look at a plow, it really just takes the ground and kind of scoops it over, flips it over on its side, where the spader actually takes and digs this stuff up and mixes it around. Does a good job. Now, where would this make sense? It makes a lot of sense when you have a lot of green fertilizer. Now, we know what that is. That's OSR. But if you have a lot of green fertilizer or a lot of grass or shrubbery or anything like that that has nutrients in it, and you take and mix the stuff up really good within the soil, well, there you go. You're fertilizing it with nice, rich nutrients. Now, where did this all come about? The spader, the rotating spader, the rotary tiller, whatever it is that you want to call it, this thing has not been around all that long. It came about around the time of the PTOs really started becoming popular. Now, if you guys remember listening to one of the last episodes that I had here, we talked about the PTO coming up. It did come out in 1926 when Ferguson developed the 3-point hitch. But just because Ferguson came out with it didn't mean it was an instant success or instantly popular. So that's what we're talking about here. When it kind of goes ahead and becomes popular, that's when we see manufacturers start to dabble in this. Now, what would be a benefit of going ahead and using a spader? Well, one of the benefits is, like I was saying before, it gives you that really nice mixed soil versus plowing where it's just turning or flipping the dirt over, not really doing too much. You can actually go ahead and use spaders with actually relatively low horsepower. Obviously, you're not going to have something really, really wide, but one thing that I have seen it being used for is in the vineyards. They actually go ahead and use a spader and go in between the rows to rip that stuff up. Now, why? Why would they go ahead and do that? What's the purpose? What's the reason? What's the benefit of using the spader? It's slow, right? That's obviously not a good reason why you'd want to go ahead and do it. But when it comes to preparing the soil, you're actually preparing the soil much, much better for water. It gives you the ability to get more airflow into the dirt, which you wouldn't really think of. But if it's not tightly compacted, there's an opportunity for oxygen to get in there. And oxygen will actually act as kind of an insulator. So that ground that you've gone ahead and kind of tore up, it actually will stay warmer than the dirt below it. And warm grounds equals crops that can grow faster and have the potential to get bigger. You'll also have the opportunity for have the roots being able to grow down and take root a little bit easier. They're not having to try and penetrate through all that hard ground. Plus, you have the opportunity with all that little extra space, you can get water drainage coming through there much, much easier, and even potentially staying in the ground a little bit longer. It is a pretty neat thing. The other thing with this is that you can go ahead and actually attach a seeder to this thing. Now, not all the time, not every case that you can do this, but if you can go ahead and plow and seed at the same time, that's pretty darn slick. Some of the negatives of this, though, because I'm not saying it's all fine and dandy, it's not a glorious thing by any means. But some of the things that end up coming up with this is that if you go ahead and do this in the dry season, that is, use a spader, you're going to destroy everything. The wind erosion will just blow your soil all over the place. It'll actually take that soil and get the nutritional value right out of it. And if you're doing this in the dry season, you're going to go ahead and actually screw with the water system. I just said before, it's really good. It helps out with the water. You're right, it does. But if you're doing this in the dry season, it's actually going to go ahead and when it starts to rain, you're going to have weird channels going through everything, washing all your soil away, and it's not going to work out very well. So the best time to actually go ahead and use a spader is in the springtime or when the ground is a little bit more moist. It's really not recommended for those dry times. But how does that have anything to do with FS22? Well, honestly, other than the spader being in the game and it's something you can go ahead and do, what use do you have for it? I couldn't think of any. And then it dawned on me. You remember what I said that you can actually go ahead and hook the spader up and a seeder up together? Well, if you go into the spader section and look at the Farmex DRP 300 Perfect, it's the middle option if you're looking, because like I said, there's only 3. It's not going to be hard to find. It actually has an option where you can go ahead and add a 3-point link. Now, this little bad mamma jamma is only 3 meters wide and goes 4 miles an hour or 5 miles an hour. It gives you that option. You can actually go ahead and hook this up to the Nordstein 3-meter seeder or that little Amazon 3-meter seeder or the AgroMaz planter. All of them are 3 meters wide. Now, you have the opportunity to go ahead and plow your fields and plant at the exact same time. I had to go in the game and check this out because I didn't even know if this was going to work or anything. And lo and behold, it actually works. The only problem that I'm seeing with this that I ran into is I had to use a much, much larger tractor. Now, I actually had to go ahead and hook these contraptions up to the John Deere 8R just to be able to make this happen, along with having a weight on the front of this. Now, the reason why this ended up having to happen is because now you have a heavy spader on the back of this tractor, and you also have this long bowed out contraption of a seeder hanging off the end of it. You have 3 implements back to back. Why is that? Because that small seeder ends up having the harrow right on it, the power harrow. So now you have the spader hooked up to the power harrow, hooked up to the seeder. It's a long, nasty looking contraption. And the only way to counter the weight is to have all the counterweight on the front of this tractor along with a heavy tractor just to make it happen. Horsepower wise, that's not an issue. But everything else is where you end up running into the issue. So the way it ends up working in the game, it is possible. And I found it to be very convenient to be able to go ahead and plow and plant my seed at the exact same time. I can understand why it's being used out in the real world. Not everywhere, but it is being used because now you're going ahead, you're not going out into the field twice to do the same thing. You're going ahead and planting all at once and plowing all at once, prepping and seeding. Kind of like direct drilling, but a little bit different. Now, as of this moment in the game, you don't have all these different options. You go ahead and you plow the field, it comes up as being plowed. Same thing if you were to go ahead and subsoil it or spade it. It takes care of the plowing. You go ahead and look at the cultivating. Every last cultivator that's out there, either a disc harrow, a power harrow, or any of the cultivators, it all ends up working out the same. There are no benefits for doing anything. As long as you do the stuff that you're told to, there you go. It doesn't matter. So in the game, spaders are useless. They really don't serve a purpose. Most of the time, you can plow the fields and seed faster, especially with mods. But taking a look at the base game, you can go ahead and do it a whole lot faster than going 4 to 5 miles an hour. That's just a guarantee. In the real world, though, in the real world, it makes sense. And it'd be nice to see if we could have some of these different options popping up for spaders and everything else to show that they have benefits. Now, as Giants and Farming Simulator have become a little bit more popular, implement makers, brands are starting to knock on the door of Giants. There's a waiting list a mile long, and that is a pretty darn neat thing. It is a pretty darn neat thing. It helps boost the morale of the Farming Simulator community, the Farming Simulator family, and it is pretty darn neat to see and be a part of. But like I said before at the beginning, Farming Simulator has probably one of the best communities that's out there. And I think the only way that we can go ahead and do something about that is have it mean something. What am I talking about? Giants, they go ahead and they have their nice spotlight that they have where they bring in these big named people to go ahead and showcase what they got going on. And for right so, they're big names. They draw a lot of crowds. Butts in the seat, if you will. Makes a lot of sense. But like I said, the Farming Simulator community it's one of the best out there. That means there are a lot of people from top to bottom that go ahead and do a lot of good things. And one thing that I'd like to go ahead and do is I'd like to kick off something special that I'd like to take a little opportunity to talk about here, because now I'm going to go ahead and get into this game and start shining a light on some of those people that are not at the top of the Giants food chain or the Farming Simulator food chain in a little section that I'd like to call the FS Love Spotlight of the Month, because we're going to take that spotlight and shine it on someone new every single month. Maybe they're not the biggest out there, maybe they're not the smallest, but you know what, they're out there and they're doing something absolutely spectacular. So what I've gone ahead and done here is I've taken the opportunity and I've interviewed our very first Spotlight member. So what I want to do here is I want to showcase someone out there who knows what they're doing, is out there rocking and rolling in the farm sim community, and our inaugural, you betcha, our inaugural kickoff of this award, or spotlight, whatever you want to call it. There is no cash prize, so don't worry. For this month of April, we have Skinman90. Skinman90, or just Skinman, how are you doing?
Very well.
That is awesome, man. That is awesome. Are you excited?
I am actually.
Okay, good. Me too. Me too. Now, my whole thing is I want to be able to talk to you because I know you. I've watched your content. I've had opportunity to see what's going on with you, but maybe other people don't. So if you don't mind, would you mind if I ask you a couple questions?
Go ahead.
All right, perfect. So I guess my first question is, what attracted you to Farming Simulator?
Now, the funny thing is, it was my younger brother was playing at FS15, and he said, "Oh, you should come and join in on this game and play along with me." So, because I'm sick of playing it on my own, and I thought, "All right, I'll give it a crack." He ran off and ventured into other things, and I'm still playing it.
It's funny how that stuff works out. Oh man. Now, you do stuff on YouTube, is that correct?
I do.
Why did you choose to go ahead and make videos on YouTube as opposed to doing other things?
Originally, I did have a 4-wheel driving stuff that I used to put up.
Okay.
But then I just got heavy into farm sim, so I decided to create a fresh new channel specifically just for gaming content, because I was enjoying the putting the videos that I was putting together, even though I probably wasn't getting as much views as I'd liked on the other channel, but I just felt committed to doing it for fun, so I went ahead with it.
Okay. Now, I know what you do for your videos, but can you go ahead and kind of describe what it is that you actually go ahead and do in your videos? Because your Let's Plays, I would have to say, are a little bit more unique than what you see out there on YouTube. So, how would you go ahead and describe what you're doing?
Um, More or less, I pick a map that I want to play on, and I sort of wing it, see how I go with it. But with the Erlengratt one, I had a plan that I wanted to get achieved, and so I put that into practice, and that actually I quite enjoyed doing that one. And then I decided after Erlengratt that I wanted to do something challenging, something that nobody's ever done before. So
Mm-hmm.
I seen the mod where you can't purchase any contracts or loans or anything like that. You actually have to manually do everything, and I thought that would be a really good challenge to put out there because I don't think anybody's been doing that. And then having it so you've got no mods, or what do you call it, the inventory up on the screen.
Oh,
So
yes. Yep.
that's gone. You can't see anything, so you don't know if you're running out of fuel or anything like that. So
Yeah, I think it's
I thought
called, I
that'd
think
be a
if I
good challenge.
remember, it's like hardcore mode or something like that. But
Yeah.
okay, yeah. Yeah,
So it doesn't allow you to get a loan out. If you try to get a loan out, it puts you. But yeah, there's no options there on the screen for it to even attempt to. So if you started out with the map and you want to pay off the loan that's already in debt, it will just erase it altogether, and then you're in the minuses because whatever was in the debt there is. So I had to do a lot of things to get that so it was back to zero and all that sort of stuff.
okay.
So I could start out
Yeah,
the challenge.
you're much braver than I am, that's for sure.
So you have to
Oh,
do everything manually on your own. So that's a
okay.
big challenge.
Yeah, and you do yours in a unique perspective, the way I take a look at it. You take a look at some of those YouTubers out there that are real life farmers, and they're taking you around showing you what's going on in their farm. And from what I see for your videos, that's kind of what's going on from your perspective, except you're just playing the game, but you're showing people as if this is really you out there doing your farm work and you're inviting people to come along. I really, really enjoy that. I think it's a neat perspective that you got going on there. But
Yep. With that of experience of living on a farm, growing up on a farm, so I sort of pull from some of those experiences that I had when I lived on the farm as well, watching my fellow farmers around the community and what they did. Because I didn't do much farming on it myself, but I watched my brothers and other farmers around the
sure,
area.
sure. No, that is cool. I know I've had similar experiences like that. Not being on the farm myself, working on a farm, but well, I guess I have done a couple things on farms to help out neighbors and stuff like that. But I know what you're talking about, wanting to
Yep.
mimic the stuff you see. That is pretty cool. Now, I do know that you go ahead and not just the videos, but you do a little bit of streaming too. Is that correct?
Yes, I do. I do.
Okay. What would you prefer? Or I should say, what do you prefer doing? Do you prefer doing the streaming or doing the videos?
Um, it's the streaming side of it. It's a kind of a hit and miss sort of a thing because
Sure.
there's one day I'll do just like a random Tuesday, so I'll just whatever game I feel like playing,
Sure.
I'll play that and I'll stream that. And then on Wednesdays I just have like the mining map, the Yukon Valley
Okay.
that I just start from scratch. I decided I wanted to do a series where I start from scratch, just using a wheelbarrow and shovel and build up from there.
That's awesome.
Trying to, get to the biggest area on the map that you can get to. So that's going to be a big challenge, and it's going to take a long time to get through that. So
Okay.
I enjoy doing the series, but I thought, well, if I'm not getting me views on the stream, I'll post that to YouTube just so it's still getting out there
Oh,
to the
heck yeah.
community that I mainly focus on at the moment.
Heck yeah. I think it's a matter of time. A matter of time, people giving you the opportunity to get out there and witness what you're actually doing. And I think with time, things really end up falling into place. It's kind of crazy how that ends up happening. When it comes to Farming Simulator, now you said that you were playing with your brother and he kind of walked away. And what keeps bringing you back to Farming Simulator? You've been playing it for quite a while now, but what is it that just keeps bringing you back to the game?
For me, it's being on a milking cows and stuff like that. That in the real world, that is very demanding, and takes a lot of time out of your days, and you don't get weekends to yourself when you're an actual farmer. So I know what that side of things is like. But playing the game, you can jump in, do a bit of farming, then go again, and then you can just pick it up anytime you want. There's no you have to be there at this time. You've got to get up at such and such an hour in the morning. Then you've got to, you know what I mean? Like,
oh, I know exactly what you mean.
You've got the freedom to just come in and go anytime you want.
Yeah, if you're out on the farm and you're getting your butt handed to you, you can't just say, all right, pause, I'm going to try this tomorrow.
Yeah.
No, I get that. With the ability to get out there and do the stuff you want to do, I get that. I get that a lot. I guess, what would be your favorite aspect of the game? Because you just keep coming back to it. Would you think that would be kind of your favorite aspect, or do you think there's something else? Is there like a particular thing you enjoy about the game? I don't know. You really love productions? Is productions you just love it, or just what aspect of it do you think that really keeps drawing you in?
The ability to be able to actually drive tractors that you've never driven before.
Okay.
So to speak. Like, being that I use a steering wheel and throttle and brakes and, all that sort of side of things, it makes me feel like I'm actually back behind the wheel of a tractor again, like I was on the farm, milking cows and like helping out the farmers there. And plus, on the other side of things, in my real work, I drive a forklift from time to time. So it still feels like I'm actually operating a actual machine.
Okay.
When I'm playing Farm Sim. So that's what keeps me coming back to it.
I gotcha. I know myself personally, when it comes to work, when I'm done, I don't want to do it anymore. But some people, if you just enjoy doing it, you enjoy doing it, and I think that makes life a lot easier to get through and everything. With that being said, you, with the parts of the game and that you like and you keep bringing you back, let's face it, you take a look at Farming Simulator, it can be improved. Anything can be improved. I guess, what would you like to see on the next version of Farming Simulator?
Well, the ability for the rain to have an actual effect on your crops, because you get heaps of rain in the game, but it does nothing to your crops at all. Like, there's no actual physical effect to the yield or anything like that. Like, in the real world, it plays a big pivotal part in the crop farmers' real life. So if they don't have the rain, then their crops aren't going to survive. So that'd be a huge step in the right direction, to have something like that to help the game along.
Heck yeah, you are speaking to my heart right now. Oh man. Geez. So with that, you have all this stuff going on. You have your channel on YouTube. You stream, you put out videos, you keep getting drawn back into thing. Let's say a month down the road, 2 months down the road, a year down the road, whatever it is, what would you consider a success for yourself when it comes to going ahead and putting out your content? Is it the amount of viewers you get? Is it the amount of subscribers, Giants partner, $1 million, world peace? What is it? What would you consider a success?
Originally started this new YouTube channel, I never expected to be up to nearly 100 subscribers by this point in time. I thought it'd be further on at the end of the year that it'd be at where I am now. So that in itself is just main goal is hopefully to show people out there that probably don't play the game or have never heard of it, to give them an idea of what some sort form of farming is like. Whether it's not in the real world, but at least it'll give them some sort of an idea of what it's like to get out there. So
Heck yeah.
that's more or less what their aim is.
Okay. What would you go ahead and say to somebody else out there that they're maybe thinking about just starting up a YouTube channel? What would you go ahead and say to them as some sort of advice?
I would say try and be yourself, and do the things that you love, regardless of whether you may think that others might not like it. But then, seeing back the comments that I get on some of the videos, some things I think, well, I've done a poor job with this video, but yet when I look at the results of the video, it produces some high numbers in views and stuff like that. So what I may think is not good is going to be good for somebody else because they may like it, but yet I don't myself. So, it just get out there and have a crack at it. And that's the best thing I could say.
Heck yeah. I mean, you are your most harshest critic out there. So yeah, I completely get that. I completely get that. Now that we've gone ahead and I've asked you a handful of these questions, I think now is the time where the most important questions get asked. This list of questions that I have been developed by myself. It's been taken, months and months and research and a lot of sleep lost. It's been tragic, but here are my questions for you. What's your favorite tractor brand?
Oh, that's a hard one to answer. I'll have to go with the Case.
Okay. All right. I can feel you on that one. Coffee or tea?
Coffee all the way.
All right, you betcha. What is your favorite time of year?
Well, it's hard to say. In between summer and winter, like just before it goes to summer, where it's starting to warm up a bit, but it's not too hot, it's not too cold.
Okay, I gotcha. What is something that you do for fun that other people might not know about you, or people might not know?
Well, on the side, I do a bit of fishing when the tides are right and the season's at the right time to go out there and fish. And on other occasions, when I get a chance to get a weekend free enough to, I'll go out there and get out in the four-wheeler and get up in the countryside with my brother and a couple of his mates, and
That's
venture
awesome.
out there and have a bit of fun.
That is awesome, man. There's nothing like that. I can get on board with that one. If you could meet anyone, living or dead, who would it be and why?
Oh, that's a tough one. Ooh, that's put me on the spot.
What would your gut reaction be? Just first name that pops up in your head.
Well, growing up in a Christian, environment, Jesus, first thing that pops to my mind.
Oh, heck yeah. There you go. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. And now, I know you gave us a really good answer on that last one, but I think this last question here probably has the heaviest weight on it, the most severe consequences for your answer. So prepare yourself, but does pineapple belong on pizza?
Yes.
Perfect. That is the correct answer. Oh, man. So, Skin Man, this has been a lot of fun doing this. I want to be able to go ahead and showcase you and the things you got going on out there, but I can say and talk about things till I'm blue in the face. What's something that you would like to go ahead and pass on to everybody about your channel? Because you are the FS Love Spotlight of the month. What would you like to say to everyone else out there who might be hearing this and thinking to themselves, man, I'd love to give this guy a shot, but I just don't know enough about him. What would you have to say to him? Go ahead. Pitch yourself to everyone.
Well, I'm not a professional maker of videos or anything like that, but I get out there and have a go, and I take people's comments and anything into heart, and I try and accommodate to get the best quality that I can to my ability. So if that's for you, then join in, and I hope you like what you see.
That's perfect, man. That's perfect. So everyone, like I said, this is going to be up and running, rocking and rolling, having a great time. Have yourself an opportunity to get out there and check out Skin Man. He is on YouTube, Skinman90, you betcha. I'll make sure you guys can go ahead and find him and catch him all month long, because I will continually be letting people know about him, because he is the FS Love Spotlight of the month. To go ahead and show Skinman90 the farm sim love that he has earned by getting himself the spotlight, click on the link below and see what you're missing. Thank you for listening to this episode of Cowlick Nation. Hopefully you'll head on back sometime, and don't worry, we'll have coffee on for you. Thanks for stopping by.